Wisconsini's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsinite coverage of the 2014 elections continues. We're interviewing Dave Considine of Baraboo. He's a Democrat running in the 81st Assembly District. Dave, welcome back to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. Dave, when I go to your website, it's very important that key issues in your campaign, raising minimum wage, equal pay, restore collective bargaining rights. Why are you campaigning so hard on those issues, sir?
Because I think our economy and our country won't be restored until we treat everybody fairly, until all the pieces of our communities have an equal say. And as much as I would like to not have money talk, it talks really strongly. And to have women, some minority groups, those who are working in the fast food industry and other places, in the hospitality industry, to have them have an equal say in our communities. We need to have a decent minimum wage. We need to restore equal pay for women. We just need to bring everybody into the bargaining table.
And when you say restore collective bargaining rights, are you saying repeal Act 10 entirely, or just part of it?
Just part of it. I am very...
Do you want public employees to continue to contribute more towards their pension and health care, sir?
I think that was a fair thing to do. Everybody else had to do that kind of thing. I think that was a fair thing to do. Did I appreciate it as a teacher at that point? No, I didn't like it at all. But in hindsight, I think that was okay. I would wish that the money that was saved had not gone to some special interest groups, which I think it did. But I think to help balance the budget in a time when everybody was struggling, that was not the worst thing in the world to do. I do think we could have done it at the bargaining table.
Okay. You mentioned you were a teacher. Are you still a teacher?
I retired at the end of last year in the hope that I can serve in Madison next year.
And you taught for how long, sir?
30 years, 29 years in Baraboo.
Okay. Also on your website, boy, I'm getting a lot of information here from your website. You want to maintain the pristine Baraboo Hills. What do you mean? That sounds like a reference to the mining law. Is it?
It's a reference to the mining law. It's a reference to what happens with the former Badger ammunition plant, yes, with how we preserve the bluebirds and the other. That is a unique environment in our world, actually, because it's been left alone for so long. And there are some species there that we don't have anywhere else, both plant and animal. I think it's really important to make sure that it's preserved.
Are you concerned that the mining law that was one of the first bills passed last session puts the Baraboo Hills, because that's a mine-rich area, at risk?
Yes, I am, except for the fact that we have such a heritage in our area of not extreme, but strong environmental voices. And I'm really proud of that. It's one of the reasons I would like to represent that area. But yes, we're the second most iron-rich area in the state. And frac sand mining could come close, not to the Baraboo Hills perhaps, but certainly to the lower Wisconsin Riverway, and that's also another area that I think we need to preserve and protect in our district.
Most candidates don't say this on their website, and I'm paraphrasing, correct me if I'm wrong. We need to consider raising the gas tax or the vehicle registration fee. Is this a reference to the projected $600 million, $700 million deficit in the next 2-year budget for transportation?
It is. I don't think we can put off our debt to the future indefinitely. If we're going to do that, we need to work at balancing the budget in a real way. Financing can be a part of it, for certain. But I think we're starting to finance too much, and we need to start funding that actively year by year. And we're going to need to pay more to have our infrastructure be the way we need it to be, to have businesses and communities interact with each other fully.
Okay, and another big part of the, assuming you're in the assembly, is the budget for schools. So if you're in the assembly and the budget is debated for schools, what are going to be your priorities as a former teacher?
I think we need to change school funding.
We need a new school funding formula?
Yes. I think the property tax is regressive somewhat. It was working well when the state funded 67%, 66% of local education costs. That's no longer the case. It's down around 15 to 17%. And therefore, property tax has become a very difficult item for a lot of fixed income people. And I think we need to find another way to fund public education.
Some Democrats like Superintendent Evers, what he calls the fair funding plan. Is that something that you'd like to see considered and passed?
Yes, I would like to see that considered.
Okay. A big part of the aid to schools debate last session and next session is going to be the future of the choice and voucher program. Your position on those?
We can't afford to give public monies to private schools. I'm proud of the job that my fellow public educators do. And I think we need to fund them fully. Every dollar that is taken from public education for private education really rips off our society and our public school students.
So you'd shut it down statewide. What about in the city of Milwaukee, which has had it for more than 25 years, sir?
If it's not a part of the public school system, I don't want to fund it with public school monies.
Over the summer, Governor Walker called for Wisconsin to withdraw from the Common Core standards. Your position?
I firmly disagree with that. As an educator who's worked really hard for years to bring the Common Core standards into our curriculum to help our Wisconsin students measure up in a world economy, that's what we're doing. And the Common Core standards are frequently mixed up with high-stakes testing. They're not the same thing. There are other ways of assessing students other than high-stakes testing. Many students don't test well. And if we have to try to get those students who don't test well in the first place to succeed with some of these standards, we're going to be in trouble because it won't happen. It's an impossibility unless we can have different methods of assessing. And I think our educational systems are really good at doing that, and we need to trust the professionals to do their job.
Is it hard for public school teachers in Wisconsin, you were one of them, to readjust to the Common Core standards?
I don't think it's difficult.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
I think we're making progress and we're moving in that direction really quickly. Have we had to work at it? Yes. But education changes all the time. Our society it's a society that changes all the time. Is change difficult? Yes. But we need to progress and it needs to change.
Healthcare funding. As you know, 1 in 5 Wisconsin residents get their health care from our Medicaid program. The American Hospital Association says we have the second lowest reimbursement rates in the nation. Should we raise those reimbursement rates?
I think we should. And partially I think we should because I think it really hurts our inner city and our rural hospital communities. It doesn't hurt our suburban hospitals as much, but when we get to rural areas, many and inner city, those are the hospitals that service a lot of those patients, and they struggle because they don't get reimbursed more. So yes, we need to increase that.
I'm going to get your opinion on Governor Walker on Sunday announced his goals for a second term if he's reelected. He'd like to drug test those who receive unemployment and food stamp benefits. Your position?
That really scares me. I think talk about being somewhat unfair. I know that we have drug problems, but it's not just in needy people. It seems to me that is picking on a part of the community without picking on everybody. And I think we need to, if that's what we need to do, then let's do it. Okay? But let's not pick on that particular segment.
He also wants to cut back from 60 months to 48 months, the period that someone could receive unemployment and food stamp benefits. Your response?
we need to be taking care of people. Are there abuses? Yes. But I don't necessarily think that just arbitrarily cutting that time limit is appropriate. I think we need to help people find a way out. And I think we need to fund more programs in that area.
He also said he'd like to cut income taxes again. Do you think we can afford it, sir?
I don't see how we can and balance the budget. I think it's virtually impossible. I think we need to do some reforming of tax structure, but we can't keep cutting taxes and say we're going to balance the budget. That's not a possibility. We need to be honest about that. And I think the proof is in what happened in this last biennium, where we're talking about almost a $2 billion shortfall, which is almost as big as the one as Governor Walker inherited. We can't.
Then finally, the governor would like a tuition freeze both on in the UW system campuses and the Tech College campuses. Your position?
I think that's going to be really hard to do again without sacrificing quality of education, without sacrificing the research that so many of our college professors do. I mean, so we cut that, and then we add burdens in class structure and other things to those professors, and we lose we're one of the best in the world in research in the state of Wisconsin, and I don't want to lose that. I don't see any other way to keep that if we can't fund it.
The bill to legalize medical marijuana will be reintroduced. The states of Washington and Colorado have legalized recreational marijuana. Your thoughts on both those issues, sir?
I think medical marijuana, while it scares me a little bit, to be honest, I think there are definite uses for that. Chronic pain has become a real issue in our society, and that seems to be, from what I understand, a way of managing it. I have no problem with that. Recreational use, I think the questions are still out. I mean, I know it's sold as an income-generating machine. It produces a lot of income, apparently. I'm not sure that we, as yet, have enough history to study about whether or not we should do that in this state. I think maybe we will in a few years. I don't think we do right now.
Okay. First offense, drunken driving. Should it be a crime?
I don't think so.
Why?
I'm a behavior specialist. That's what I did in the public school system for 29 years. We don't change behavior by punishing people. Saying that you can't, that you get convicted of a major crime and can't be a hunter or something else just doesn't seem fair to me. Let's offer the services in our mental health areas to help the people work through that problem.
And finally, do you want to highlight any differences between you and your opponent on November 4?
I think the very large difference is experience. I think Ashton is a brilliant young man. But I've worked in the public sector. I've worked in the private sector as a retail store owner, selling my apples from the farm as a farmer for 10 years, and then working in the public sector. That broad range of experience, I think, is really needed in Madison. That knowledge at the bargaining table is going to be really important in this legislative session.
Thank you. Dave Considine of Baraboo is a Democrat running in the 81st Assembly District. Dave, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thank you.
Thank you.